What's up guys, Jivan back with another video, and today I'm going to be sharing some of the best notes I got from my VOD review of Malibuca's solo cash cup. He's one of the best players in the world right now, so I thought I could learn a lot from his gameplay, and sure enough, I did. Not only that, but I'm going to be trying to apply some of these key notes to my next solo cash cup, and that video is going to be coming to my main channel, JivanTV. Please consider using code JivanTV if you've been liking the content, and without further ado, let's hop into it. So we're going to be starting out with this key game here, looking at some of his mid-game fights. One big thing that I see him and a lot of pros do all the time is a heal bait with a big pot specifically. Big pots take forever to get off, and when an enemy hears you going for a big pot, they almost always immediately pressure. So if you insta-edit with an optimal peak when you're popping a big, you can usually catch them off guard. Malibuca here goes for an unpredictable edit from above, which I usually don't think to do. When you're going for surprise damage off a big pot, doing an unpredictable edit can go a long way like it did for him here. The next thing that impressed me here was going for this really tight side jump angle. I usually try to go for the piece when I do this side jump, but he goes for a shot and the piece. Because he did it from such a tight angle, it all happened so fast and the enemy didn't have time to react. The tighter you can get your movement on certain retakes and moves, like, it goes a long way. Later on in this fight, he's up against the enemy's wall and he just has his pump out. It seems like he's trying to get a feel for how aggressive the enemy is, and he's staying protected by keeping his pump out. I never think to do that, just slow down in a fight, get a feel for the enemy, and then it'll help you in the long run because you know kind of how the enemy plays off that. I gotta slow down in my mid-game fights specifically. This fight, he ends up winning it just from doing like the most patient, optimal peaks. You can tell he just thinks about his peaks every time he's taken one, and sometimes we just gotta slow down and do exactly that. He's carrying a two-shot here, and a lot of times I struggle to fight with the two-shot, so let's see how he plays. The two biggest things I notice when he uses a two-shot is one, he plays farther back peaks because the two-shot has more range than the pump, kinda. I feel like every time you challenge somebody who has a pump from far back, you're going to win if you have a two-shot. And then the biggest thing is while he has a two-shot, every single wall that is weak, he shoots it. Any damage you can bleed through the walls with the two-shot, you should try to do it. I don't do that enough, but I should. Just start shooting walls left and right, because you can just start bleeding damage through, get the health advantage, and then you can finish it with a 50-50 later. This right here is something I've never seen before. I'm probably a bot for not knowing this, but I checked with Ken Beans and he didn't either. If you place a wall next to a floor and cone, you can just walk up against that wall, spray the floor and cone, and you'll just phase right through. So if the enemy is healing in a box and you need to get in, that's a good way to do it. Now we're finally at an end game. This isn't his first game, but it's still low elo. So what he does is get to front side and he just builds up, no hesitation. That's something I gotta start doing in my first games. If you can get to height, it's just a free win. You'll see basically every single pro playing height their first game, and that's something I gotta start doing. He ends up winning from height, but he does get it taken from him a couple times here, so let's check out how he gets height back when he loses it. First off, he gets height taken here, and even though he's on back edge of zone, he chops out high ground. Height gets to the front side of zone, but because he got chopped, he ends up just basing up here. And then Malibuca just reclaims it easily. And then later, he drops down for a kill, gets height taken again, and this is like the craziest thing. He grapples to height and launches himself up in the air and just spam builds walls and ramps and gets the builds over top of the enemy. And then he just has high ground back. And then from there, he just wins the game. In this next game here, he's in higher elo and he's taking a mid-game fight. The biggest thing I notice in this fight is that there's a third party nearby. Throughout this fight, he's constantly building walls in the angle that he knows the third party is, and he's trying to push from the dead side of the player. He's trying to keep the player he's fighting in between him and where he knows the third party is. This is especially important in endgame. If there's a bunch of people based up, you never want to position yourself in between the players boxed up and the player you're fighting. He eventually gets the kills here. It was a little bit close, I'm not gonna lie, but he played that fight well. Now we're at another endgame, and this is where we really start to see why Malibuca is Malibuca. In endgame, he is constantly looking to put pressure on people. He's constantly looking for kills. Now, one thing I realized, and this is an eye-opener for me, I never really thought about it like this. He only fights on his own terms. For example, here, he gets put in somebody's box off his grapple. Me personally, whenever I get boxed off a grapple, I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta shoot the enemy, just 50-50 him. Malibuca's first instinct is just phase out of the box. He fights on his own terms, and when he's in the alpha position, tries to avoid 50-50s unless he knows he has a health advantage. And with the grapple, something I realized he does is he doesn't over prioritize the grapple. He doesn't just sit in a box and be like, okay, grapple rotate time. A lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times he will tarp first in wood for a little bit, and then when he sees what he wants to grapple off of, that's when he does it. He has literally the craziest play to clutch up this game. He knows he's pinched between everybody. He's in the middle there. So he knows he either has to drop to low and frag or make an alpha play for height, but he doesn't have many mats, so he is just a beast for winning this. He did another one of those grapple plays to reclaim height, which was absolutely nuts, and then just bodies the last kid. In this mid-game fight, this is one of the most IQ things I've ever seen. When somebody has an armor wall, you know they have two usually. So when he pressures this wall and the guy places an armor, he kind of bait pressures another wall. Knowing the enemy's going to place an armor, he baits it and then immediately pressures underneath because he knows the enemy's going to place another armor wall on that top wall. You get what I'm saying? Little thing I never thought of. It didn't really do anything for him in this fight, but that was IQ. So in this endgame here, he gets weak and he's on back edge of zone. He's in the worst spot, but he has a good amount of mats. So what he does here is he full tarps to the dead side of zone, cuts off everybody on his lair, gets all the way around to the front edge. But the biggest thing you need to notice is that his tarp was so protected. He's heavy focusing, hyper focusing on blocking his angles while he's tarping to front. That's obviously what you're supposed to do, but he just executes it so perfectly here. I thought that was worth noting. The way he does it is by like jumping around the corners when he needs to place those sidewalls, like really making his movement sharp so that he's able to place the builds before he gets shot, before he's exposed. If you don't know how to do that, you should definitely practice in creative. He takes a fight here at the end of the game in a really laggy lobby, and he ends up getting this kill, and the way he does it is just by constant pressure, safe pressure from far away. He makes this fight look so easy, like he just is smacking on a wall when the enemy has no angle on him because of the ramps. Once he gets the wall, he sets up a far peak to get some pressure on the enemy. The enemy ends up repositioning, and so then he starts getting sprayed at by other players because everybody hears them fighting here. Everybody hears it, but at first they were in fully built metal walls, you know? But when the enemy tarps away, everybody can see that he's tarping, and everybody was looking at the fight anyway, so he starts getting sprayed at. This puts Malibuca in the alpha position, and Malibuca just waits, and he ends up coming back through the tarp, and he just finishes the fight by pressuring his top. Like I said, he made it such an easy fight for himself. There's a lot of times in endgames where players will be getting tunnel vision on a certain kill. Malibuca recognizes that here and sneaks up on this player who's tunnel vision spraying through a window. He does it super quick, gets that damage, and then just immediately goes for the phase in. No hesitation, just SMG out, in the box, quick kill. He is just constantly looking for frags. Something I noticed he does all the time on mid and low ground is he'll just get to front side, make like 2 or 3 boxes of room, and then frag through that tarp. Rotate, make room, frag. Rotate, make room, frag. That's his system. And clearly it works because he is just constantly dropping bombs in late game. Right here, he does that exact thing, starts smacking on a wall, gets a quick double kill, almost a triple kill. It just works so well, but the real question is, will it work for me in my solo cash cup first try? Find out tomorrow on my main channel, JivanTV, where I play like Malibuca in the solo cash cup. Catch you in the next one. Peace.